Welcome to the Christel Crawford Show. I'm Christel Crawford.
I'm Stephanie Richardson.
I'm Karlina Vanderway.
And I'm very short.
You are. I know. Look at you on the video. I can
really
see how
didn't
short
think
you
I was
are.
short.
Wait, hold on. Look how small your head is.
It's really
Lean
small.
back a little. Lean back a little. Oh my God! Look how
Oh,
tiny.
you get smaller. Because we lean forward a little. But now I'm gonna.
If you are listening to this on Blog Talk Radio, we are being ridiculous right now, but I do look like I have a shrunken head. I just want to point that out.
And very nice cleavage.
And very nice cleavage.
But what's our show about today?
So today we're talking about judge you much?
Right. Because when you're short, do you get judged? I mean, I know I'm good at that.
So actually, we just went to Starbucks to get these coffees that we're
Cheers.
drinking. You can't see them on if you're listening to this, but we're drinking coffees. And so I'm dressed up in like this, I'm dressed, you know, like this nice dress with cleavage and heels, and Stephanie looks awesome. And so we went into Starbucks
Thanks.
looking like this on Monday morning.
See, this is where the judgment comes in. She said how Stephanie looks awesome, and then she just skipped over me. So
And
I could take
Karlina looks
total
like
offense
a
to
bright
that.
spot of sunshine. And I said to her this morning, I'm like, we blend.
We do blend.
But
It's a blend
it was interesting walking into Starbucks on a Monday morning.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
I couldn't understand the words that you said. We blend.
Yes.
There is nothing about the two of these guys right now
Come on.
that blends in anywhere.
Blend.
You mean the mango sunshine color doesn't
You mean the
blend in
cleavage
anywhere?
with the orange and the red?
And then I have long
Long
silver hair.
and beautiful heels on, and these stunning legs that just keep going all the way up and down. Yes. We don't
blend.
We don't blend.
We absolutely.
Sarcastically.
Well, so I was realizing as we were in Starbucks that it was Monday morning. I had that whole train of thought. It's Monday morning.
Monday morning.
And we're happy.
And we're happy, and we look awesome
That's
in
true.
Starbucks. And how weird that was. That was really fucking with
Sexy
people.
high heels on a Monday morning.
Yes, really. And
It's not like a
cleavage.
leftover for Sunday, but it's not
But we
even.
didn't.
It usually would be a Saturday leftover in this world.
And we don't look left over.
We don't.
That's true.
I actually look like I showered today. And so I'm watching this, and one of the things I thought, and I said this to you in the car, was like, I would never do this at home. Like, I wouldn't actually leave the house like this on a Monday morning at home. I would get in my yoga pants and put on my yoga thing just to be more yoga.
Huh.
Yeah, right, because we live in Vancouver. So I'm like trying to blend in Vancouver.
Are you really? Oh my
yeah,
God.
Yes, I do that.
I am so oblivious.
You are so you are. Sorry, you're perfect for this show. She has no idea. But I've been doing that like my whole life. I really, in one version or another, like trying to make people not so uncomfortable, because when I really did myself up, I was so aware of people's uncomfort.
Right.
And I was saying to her in the car, was like, I've been protecting people
Yeah.
from their own reaction to me forever, like as long as I can remember.
And that's so funny because I'm aware of their judgment, like especially when I look good, I'm so aware of their judgment, and I love it. I love being aware of it. It's so fun.
Wait, so what's fun for you?
Yeah.
Actually being aware of, or it's like, oh shit, that just came up in your world, or it's like, oh wow, that's so cool. That's what you think of me.
So was that always true for you? Because I know that, I mean, I have so many conversations with people all over the world that are like, the one thing that they're avoiding more than anything is judgment.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say it was always true for me, especially when I'm trying to fit in. But when I
How did that
stopped
work
trying
out
to
for
fit
you?
in-
I mean, you're super tall. You're this massive presence.
I actually always liked being tall because I could see over people. So I never had a problem with that.
Right.
So if you judge me for being tall, I would just recede it.
So what, was there anything that people could judge you for that you would like shrink from, and what did you do to change it? Do you remember any of that?
Well, the last one is a better question. Do you remember any of that?
No, we have no memory. Or is there any, I guess...
No,
you know-
definitely. Like, especially growing up, when I look at the teenage years, like, you know, having a female body, that was not okay in my world. Like, you know, boobs showed up and like...
You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so I would wear... I wore skinny pants because that was like the thing. But I would wear big t-shirts. And so you would see nothing. And I would just drown in that.
Right.
And that's kind of what I do. Like, I will hide it and shrink in that way. But we still kind of stand out even when you try to hide. That's the thing.
I know.
Yeah.
I decided I would stand out for something completely different. So I went the punk direction.
That's so you.
To basically like, well, you're going to judge me for something.
Wow.
I'll give you something
Yeah.
to judge that doesn't matter to me.
Right. And that's a really
That's
good
so
point. And I
cool.
think a lot of us do that, where it's like, no, if you're going to judge me, I'll give you something that
Well, I'll
to
give
judge.
you something to judge.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm willing to do that with like the way I create business or like being seen on the internet or whatever, but I haven't been as willing to do that with my body. Like there's been so much about my own like physical body where I'll hide it, or I think I'm hiding it. I think more than anything. And
I'm like, wait, has that been recently?
there's been a lot of change. Well, I think it's been in the last.
I was like, you have done a terrible job of hiding.
No, I know. No, I know.
Like an absolute horrible job of hiding your body. If you think you've been hiding your body, you're delusional.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not.
But no, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because I used to think I was so good at hiding stuff, and Crystal's like, you can't fucking hide a thing.
No, you are terrible at hiding things.
But I thought I was so good. I was so good at
Well,
this.
that's what I've been realizing is
Right.
the things we think we're hiding, we're not actually hiding.
Well, there is that whole thing of the things that you're hiding are literally the things you're highlighting.
Oops, did I get those words mixed up?
Yeah, anything that you try and hide or keep secret is actually something that you're basically putting a neon sign above
That is
your
hilarious.
head. And actually, so all of those things that we thought we were so good at hiding
Yeah.
are actually the very things that we're showing off.
So, I have a question, because there's a lot that's just changed in my world. So, is that the same when we hide it so well from ourselves that we can't even see it? Like, it's fucking gone. Do
Well,
we
that's
still...
interesting, because how many of the things that we think are gone, they impact the way that we behave in the world,
Yes.
they impact the way
Yes.
that, and it slips out sideways.
Yeah.
So that it's stuff that we have that sense of not having done intentionally.
Right.
Well, what do you mean I came across so
Exact-
mean? I didn't do it
Thank you.
intentionally.
Yeah.
And so we'll be so we hid what we were doing
Yeah.
from ourselves, but it sliding out of our mouths or it impacting the way we are
That's
in the
exactly
world.
it. Because I would like somebody would say something to me, like back to me, and be like, "Huh," and I'd have to actually look at it, and it's like, "Oh, I guess you could take it that way, but that's so not."
Well,
what
can
I
you give a
meant."
specific example? Because this just happened, and I think this is relevant to people. Like what somebody said to you, and then you're like, what?
Yeah, well, I made some off-the-cuff remark to someone, which I kind of thought was a joke, and they, like, it didn't really, it might, well, I don't even know how to explain it. It hurt.
Yeah, it
like,
hurt. She felt hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in my world, I'm like, wow, like, what did I say? Because
Yeah.
it didn't register as something that was significant in my world.
Yeah.
And even looking at it now, like, I'm like, huh. And so usually, like, in those situations, I can look back if I remember what I said and be like, oh, I guess from a different perspective, you could take it in a different way, and I can start to see that, and then I can learn from it. But in some cases, like this one, I'm like, it's so gone because
Yeah.
I've hidden it from me so well that I can't actually see it or access it.
Yeah.
And that might have changed now, so,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like,
exactly. But I had this. I just want to riff on that because I had a similar thing for me in the last 6 months. Like every class I went to, Dane was trying to get me to look at something, and I would not look at it. And then in the last, at the SOP recently in Vancouver, I started to look at it, and I'm like, I realized I didn't want to see. I just didn't want to see where I might be doing this to people or being this way with people, because I didn't want to be that way in the world. But I had hidden whatever I had judged about myself so dynamically that I was being it while not wanting to be it, while not being able to look at it.
Exactly.
Because I had judged it so hard.
Right.
And that was really what I wanted to talk about. Well, I'm glad we're talking about this today, because I was like, basically getting intimate with everything that you've hidden from yourself that you've decided is so wrong with you. And I guess as I've looked at this whole energy and this topic and this way of being in the world, what's changed, and I didn't expect this, because I sort of expected to look at it and then, I don't know what I expected, to die, really. It's like that, I don't know, like if I'm actually being that way in the world, I'll just die. And the more I just stayed present with it, and that was my big ask at the Meister class this year, was to actually be present with like what I was judging about myself, the more I really just liked me. And I could also just start seeing like that I had choice, and that other people supported me even though I'd been doing this, or, you know, there was, I don't know, there was just a whole different world that opened up that I couldn't even get to before.
Well, the one thing I'm seeing, so I'm getting where people need examples.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that popped up as you guys were talking was how people become their parents.
Right.
And that sounds like it doesn't relate, but
no, it does.
But oftentimes
it's
what
hidden in
happens is, when you're a kid or when you're a teenager and you look at what your parents are being, and you go, not that.
Yeah.
I'll never be that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that.
I did that
That's
with my
awful.
mom.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then you do that, and then you kind of forget about it.
But it's not really forgotten.
It's not forgotten.
Well, you forget that, and then you start functioning.
Well, that's the thing, is it's everything that you sort of hate,
You create.
you begin creating.
Yeah.
And especially the stuff when you were a kid. Like when you're a kid, you're so busy trying to figure out why. So you're like, why is that person so mean? Why would they do that? And the second, you will get the information why. But sometimes you get the information why by becoming it to see what it is.
Yeah.
You mean all
Like-
the time? By sometimes you mean 100%.
I was just, letting some people slide and think that they weren't affected
Well, that was
by this.
huge for me with my mom, because my mom used criticism and judgment as a means of being in the world like that, and so she was so critical and so crazy with so many people that I was like, I will never, ever, ever, ever be like that. And so when Dane started pointing this thing out, I went straight to defending myself. One, because I'm so used to being attacked all my life, so I thought that's what he was doing, and then I made it about me, and I blah, blah, blah. But then the second piece was like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be, there was just this like, and so not even being able to look at it because it was so horrible, mean, vicious, and awful in my world that...
But I had decided I would never do this
I would
or
never
be
do
this.
this.
So
You
I
don't
can't
understand.
do this or
This
be
can't be
this.
true.
I can't do this and be this because
Yeah.
I said I wasn't ever going to do this or be this.
Yeah.
So it can't be true because I know
Right.
how awful this is.
Yeah.
And that's actually where you cut off your awareness.
Exactly.
And that's what I found too.
The big thing is that most of those things that we judge so terribly or we're judged so terribly for, on their own, are actually tools that we can use.
Yeah.
But you also take that off the table as a tool and make it only a thing that you can damage yourself or others with.
Yeah.
Because almost everything is actually a tool. If you take a hammer and I hit you in the head with it, it is now a weapon. Like a really brutal, awful.
Oh, why that's funny. It's not that funny.
That's great. He's cracking up.
I'm actually a psychopath. That's what's true.
And the truth comes out.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
if we have two boards and a nail, we
Right.
can make a house.
Right?
Right.
So on the one hand, you've
Tools
got
and
a
weapons.
really
Oh,
brutal, awful
yeah.
weapon, and
Yeah.
on the other side, you have a fairly simplistic, minorly effective tool. Right? Like, it's not even a
Yeah.
words.
Machi-
I'm looking for words.
not a machine
Nail
gun.
gun. Nail machine gun. I don't know.
It's a gun and it is a machine.
Technically,
In my defense.
Words can be a weapon. They can be a tool.
But that's actually very true.
So you're so good at putting language, either one of you. It's interesting.
Me not so much.
Yeah.
It's kind of gone. She's still able to do it.
She's really good.
It's not coming out of my head.
Well,
Somebody out there is brilliant. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to facilitate the brilliance. That's all I'm doing. I'm like, thank God I don't have to be smart. But one of the things I love about what you were saying was the capacity. You basically said, and I forget how you said it. I'm sorry, but it's like the way I would say it is like underneath all of everything we decided is wrong is this incredible capacity.
Absolutely.
There is an potency.
And a potency.
And it's like with all of the stuff that you're hiding from yourself, you also hide that potency that's underneath.
Or how to use it as a potency.
Oh,
Right.
well, yeah.
So it's this energy that, it's like you said, it's this hammer, it's this energy that can be used for anything, and when you're busy judging it, you are actually bashing yourself and other people in the head. That's actually what's going on without realizing that you're bloodying
clear.
everybody in sight, right?
That's so true.
And your friends that have no point of view are like, oh, she's bashing people, interesting point of view. But the other people that don't have as
Just
interesting
mop up the blood.
Here's a napkin. What are you handing me a napkin for?
Well, and then where I was going is like, that's not actually what I want to create in the world. Like,
I'm sorry.
Let's try to have a conversation.
That's not what you want to create in the world. I actually heard you through the laughter and through envisioning this whole scenario. I still heard you.
That's fine. No.
I'm still laughing.
No.
Sorry.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Mopping up blood? No, but I guess just like it was that awareness of like that's not what I want to create in the world. Is just where I was going with that, and I was realizing I can't actually choose that and create that if I don't become aware of what I'm being in the world. You don't have choice when.
But that's actually,
you don't have choice when you hide it.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing.
It's actually a brilliant moment when you go, oh. Most of the time, this is where the self-judgment kicks in when you go, I don't want to be that in the world.
Yeah.
Most people's conversations with themselves stops there.
Yeah.
So it goes, I don't want to be this in the world. So now what am I, like literally their choices at that moment are, or our choices in that moment are.
Judgment.
I either hide it again from myself because I don't want to see that I did choose that.
Like, let's just shove that under the rug.
Or now I'm just going to judge myself and feel really bad about it.
Yeah.
Those are terrible choices.
Those are the two that we have.
Those are the two. But if you take it out of, just real quickly, if you take it out of that judgment piece and you go, oh my gosh, I don't want to be this in the world.
Yeah.
You go, okay. And that's sitting with it, like taking it out of the either hide it again or, you know, or judging yourself with it and making yourself bad, wrong, you know, all that is go, whew, I don't want to be this, but I was.
Yeah.
Okay. But how can I actually use this? Because right now, all I see is that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't wrong, if I just used a hammer or a tool in a way that isn't very, you know, isn't very generative.
Images, right?
Then keep hitting her in the head whenever I bring that up. I'm so sorry. If you have a headache or in a little while, I'm so sorry. So that's a capacity. I can either make myself wrong right now,
right?
Or I can go
sitting here and
neat. I can send images to other people's heads. How can I use that as a capacity instead of a weapon? Mm-hmm. And so really everything, like if
that's so sweet, you just kissed it better.
That's
how you use it as.
If you guys are lost on the video right now about what just occurred here, she was sending mental images to her head,
and then hammer,
and then she kissed it. Anyway,
but that whole thing of just asking, then you know, okay, well, somebody just, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, fuck
Sorry.
No, so if somebody says, Stephanie, you're being a bitch. Mm-hmm. I can either go, oh my God, I'm so wrong, I'm so wrong, I'm so wrong, I'm so wrong, and I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And they're stuck with what I did too. Like it doesn't make anything better.
It doesn't change
solidifies it big time.
So if they go, Stephanie, you're being a bitch, and I go, oh wow, that was not what I intended.
Yeah.
Maybe it was, or maybe I just admit, yeah, I meant to be. But whatever that first part is recognizing, however I did mean to use it, recognizing what that was.
Yeah.
Oh, I did mean to be cruel.
Yeah.
What did I think I was going to get out of being cruel? Or I really didn't mean to be cruel. I wonder how I could use this energy that I was using that came across as bitch. I wonder how I can use it in a different way.
Right. And then see, for me, like, because I've hidden things so well, I would be like, huh,
how could
that's
you see
a bitch?
How could you
no, even without reacting. Like if I didn't react, I mean, there's definitely reaction points.
That was interesting. I wasn't trying to do the reaction energy. I was going, how is it that you took that as bitch?
Yeah,
right. It turns it back on him.
Yeah.
How is it that you took that as bitch? Because I didn't mean it.
You're going to like, how does that land that way in your world?
Yeah, because I like when I hide things, like, damn, do I hide them well from myself? Apparently not from you guys, but from me. So it's really looking at like, that's what you think is a bitch, and it's like, wow, like how does that even land in your world? And then I look at it from like a 180 or a 90-degree view, like where it's like, oh, and then sometimes I can see it's like, oh, now, because I'll look from their perspective and their hurt, and then I can see, oh, I get what that created, and then I can kind of go backwards and be like, okay, I get how that is. Or it's so well hidden that I'm like, I don't get it.
So maybe,
and I actually require someone to explain it to me so that I can start to see it. But that's where, and that's one of the things that's changing. Like I had a conversation last night, but that's probably the most extreme point where I've hidden something from myself so well that even when it's pointed out to me, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And that's what the conversation that I needed to have last night, and that's a question I asked. I'm like, I kind of need you to explain this to me.
Right. I needed that too, because I've done the same thing, and I'm actually curious your take on this, because one of the things I'm looking at now in going out into the world is I actually do want to create a world that's kind and inclusive, and and whatever that is. And so with this unhidden, I'm like so much more aware of myself and being and saying, and so how do you then, I don't even know if this is a how question, but it's like, without going into judging yourself so that you will be the right way in the world, what is that? What question can you be to?
Well, I've been looking at
how do you
the
play
same
with this?
stuff, like, being mean, being...
Because there's that way where you judge everything and you like want to be the right way. And that's actually, I'm not interested in that. It's like,
no, and one of the, I've been looking at it and then really sitting with it and asking questions and wondering, and then going into the wrongness of me, and then justifying it, and then doing it all again. And so there's sort of this process, but then when you go into the wrongness of you actually have to go like, no, stop, we're not going here. Mm-hmm. And being kind to yourself and not allowing you to judge you. Or if you start justifying it, it's like, no, hang on, I actually need to call a friend about this, and I need to talk to someone who's not going to let me go there.
It's really in every 10 seconds. That's what I'm getting, and I'm really wanting to hear what you have to say about this too, but it's like, for me, and moving forward, it's like just being present and being present. And the other thing I'm looking at is also being willing to explode the world, because there's also been this place where I've hidden that potency so dynamically that I won't allow myself to be it while being it. And so it's almost like the potency hits a break wall, and then everybody on the other side explodes, but I don't know about it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also, it's like the willingness to be vulnerable with yourself and to be intimate with yourself. And it's, because if you're not willing to be that vulnerability, you won't look at it. Mm-hmm. But you have to actually be willing to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, and lower your own barriers and be willing to look at it, or ask people when you can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's also, you guys mentioned a couple of things that were really brilliant, and I think one of the things is the stopping, the slowing down of actually being willing to, that vulnerability with yourself is, first step, I guess, is going, would I be willing to see everything about me?
Yeah.
Because the next thing that I would suggest, or that I have implemented a lot in my own life, is actually looking at, instead of taking everything through the filter of, if I said this, would it be right?
Yeah.
Into a different filter, still a filtration system at this point. Depending on the situation. If it's a sensitive situation, if it's one that I know that I've done weird stuff in the past, I actually stay extra aware. Like, I give myself an extra second before I actually respond to something. And instead of taking it through, if I say this, will it be right? Taking it through, if I say this, what will it create? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's really the difference between judgment. You're still actually looking at it's not, you're still looking at what you're saying. You're still looking at what it does in the world. But the one way, you're looking to see if it's right or wrong. Mm-hmm. The other way, you're just looking at, well, what will this create? And so sometimes somebody being upset is not a wrongness. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that you're bad. Yeah. So if I say this, what will it create? And being aware of, we use some of these tools of energetic awareness of, what will my life be like in 5 years? What will my life be like in 10 years? What will my life be like in 20 years if I say this thing to this person? Mm-hmm. If I defend, and you can, and then you get the energy of that. I just realized that might require more explaining. And then you perceive what shows up when you ask that, and then you go, okay, well, if I don't say anything at all, what will my life be like in 5 years? What will my life be like in 10 years? What will my life be like in 20 years? And whichever one matches the energy of what you'd like to create more of in the world, maybe the one that has a lot more attention and density to it is what you want to create in the world. Maybe that's what you enjoy. Or maybe you would like to create more space, and you go, oh wow, if I don't say anything, it actually creates a lot of space. okay, I won't say something and I'll see what happens.
Yeah, because the judgment way is deciding what being a nice person is in the world and then trying to be that.
Which is great, because then you get to justify. If you said the nice thing and they get upset, you get to go, but I said the nice thing.
Exactly.
I know, because
While
the mean
cutting
thing,
off their head.
because I know, because the mean thing went through my head first.
Yeah, exactly.
And I judged this one to be nicer than what I was really thinking.
So it becomes a bit of a shit show in there, because you have to decide, you have to conclude, you have to like whatever that is for you, and it's so different for everybody. And then again, if they took it wrong, blah blah blah.
Where I called Christel a cunt a few days ago, but it created a lot of like.
And it's so funny because even 2 months ago, probably even that would have been like, what? Like it really would have like.
But see, the funny thing is, it would have gone what instead of like fuck you, because you still went to question.
It wasn't actually, and she didn't go to
do.
fuck you, because I did it in a moment that I was like, oh, if I say this, what will it create?
Yeah.
And it was, and
I know,
it was
you
total.
never do that.
It was total lightness. It was total lightness to do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it from meanness. That was the other part. Like, you can say, oh my gosh, your hair looks beautiful, and it's actually an acknowledgement. You can say, your hair looks beautiful. Right? Like we don't, even people who think they don't get energy totally get energy, because if you say, you can say the same words to somebody and it comes across completely differently.
Yeah.
You can even practice that in the mirror, just saying. You can, because that's what we do. Like if you're naked and standing in the mirror, you're doing the one where you're throwing judgment at yourself. You're not doing the one what's actually true with kindness.
How do you know who I am in the mirror?
Maybe when I get in the mirror, I'm actually.
I was just talking about me. Sorry, never mind.
I judged that I was being nice to myself. You look beautiful today.
I want to throw this other piece out before you, because I really can't believe it's almost half an hour. But I was looking at this piece also of and help me with words here, but I was looking at this piece where actually consciousness has my back, that even if I am being me in the world and I'm being this potency, and it reminds me sort of like a 2-year-old with a bazooka right now. Like it's, like I'm relearning to walk and relearning to, in this area, because I've hidden it so dynamically from myself. It's like, in some places, I'm like, I have no reference points for being this in the world, right? So there's gonna be times where I know when
that bazooka goes off.
I chop somebody's head off, right?
In the wrong direction. Oops! You're trying to put the safety on.
Where's
the safety? It turns out there is no safety on a bazooka.
Does anybody have super glue, through the so it's.
The images.
I know.
You're like, there's no safety. There's only go buttons.
So I was looking at this and I was like, wow, like if I actually unleash this potency, what I'm actually afraid of could occur. Like, it could.
Yeah.
And would I be willing to trust consciousness and trust?
Oh no, there's a bigger question.
Yeah, please.
Would you be willing to blow the world up and explode yourself and everybody and take them all down?
No. Can you explain that for the viewers?
Well, it's like where you were going with there's this, trust the universe, because consciousness really does have your back. Yeah. But if you're not willing to explode you or take people down along the way, or be like, look, if I be this, I'm probably going to explode and you're going to get hurt and you're all going to get hurt and somebody's head's going to fly off.
I've seen it before. It's happened.
If you're not willing to be that, you can never...
I got better.
But if you're not willing to be that, you can never be you.
Right.
Well,
that's
always,
right.
Yeah.
You're always censoring and
you're protecting. When you're protecting, whether it's you or other people from you, you can't be you. You can't be your potency, and you can't play with your capacities.
Well, if you think you have to protect people from something, that means you've already decided that you're bad, wrong, and that you will mess everyone and everything up. Like, that's fundamentally in there. If you're like, well, I better protect people from me, or I could, that.
Yeah, like there's a decision somewhere that this is something that is, you're going to blow up the world. You're going to explode. It's going to hurt people one way or another.
What do you do with that? Like, if you're sitting listening to this and you're like, yeah, that's me. Like, I'm...
Yeah, I can't say anything without causing a problem.
Yeah, I'm that person. So what can we give people that...
Have fun with it.
That's actually it.
That sounds like the most ridiculous tool ever. Have fun with it. The judgment, what I found in part is that the more I tried to protect people from me, and the more I tried to make sure that I got it right, the more what happened is in everybody's world, in almost everything I said, I basically put out there, I'm wrong and I'm hurting you. And I'm going to try and not hurt you.
Right.
But all
they would be hurt and offended and everything else.
And it didn't matter
what you said.
It didn't matter what I said.
Because the energy was...
Because the energy was, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm mean.
Yeah.
And all I asked was, what kind of coffee would you like? I was really trying to be, all the time.
Right.
But everything looked like I was making up for something.
Right.
Instead of look like actually a genuine act of kindness. And you know what that feels like. Why are you making up for something?
What are you doing?
What are you making up for?
Yeah.
Like how did you hurt me?
What are you about to do?
What are you about? Yes. What are you pre-making up for? How are you about to stab me in the back?
Then all my defenses go up, and it's like, I'm out.
Well, because there's an incongruency, and you just don't know exactly what it is. You're just like, that's just
something's
weird.
Wrong here. Something's wrong here. Something's wrong here.
But it really is like what you said, like have fun with it. It's the tool of indulging, like fully indulging in it. Because if you actually, whether you're like in a room on your own or you're just sitting there, if you indulge in that energy for a little bit, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 days, you indulge and just fully be that and blow yourself up and blow everybody up and just watch the mental images in your head or do whatever, but be with that and allow it to be. That's really when you can go past it.
Well, I really got, I've been sitting with, there's been a whole big conversation about unkindness and cuntness. Basically, there's been a huge conversation about that recently with a bunch of people that I know. And so one of the things that I really started looking at, I was like, okay, cool, what if I am?
Yeah. I used to do the same.
No one said it directly to me.
Oh, I got it direct.
But the conversation has been out there. And so I really started to go, cool, what if I am? What if I am a cunt? And really just allowing, what Karlina was talking about, let it explode. Well, in that, I'm like, okay, cool. If I've been being that, if I've been doing that, relax into it. I don't have to actually do more of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's not necessarily even what we mean by indulging it. So much as anything that you've hidden, I guarantee you haven't indulged in. So anything that you've hidden, if you allow for that to be part of, I guess, if you have a list of who you think you are, if you now add that to the list, oh wow, so in addition to kind, in addition to caring, in addition to all the things that I would like to see about myself, if I add this too, okay, well, I'm going to add cunt to that list. Now, if I add cunt to that list, and I really just go, wow, all the places that I've ever done that or been that, would I be willing to be aware of them? And indulging the receiving of that information and as that comes in, and as it's like, oh, well, that time, then I was really unkind. I was really bulldozery there. I was really this. When you indulge, you don't have to then go, oh my gosh, now I need to make a list of all the people I need to apologize to. You don't have to do anything with it.
You don't have to go to the 12 steps.
I was just
make
thinking about the 12
steps. I was looking at that though with this whole thing. I actually wanted to get out a list to make amends for oh my God, have I been this to you? Have I been this to you?
See, but I would have never noticed because I've hidden all that from myself. So.
Well, that's why we get along.
Exactly.
But I'm like, if you go straight to apologizing, you actually miss miss being with the energy and allowing it to be part of your world. And so again, you weirdly enough, sometimes, and not all the time, but sometimes putting things in the direct action, make amends, blah blah blah, still weirdly,
you're
even though it's
over it.
Or hiding it in a totally different way. Now you're hiding it in plain sight. You're apologizing for it so that maybe no one will notice when you do it in the future.
It's kind of like how Catholics, you say, 5 Hail Marys and it's okay, but it's like,
and then you can do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I never got that, but it's similar. Like you apologize, but then you're not fully looking at it or asking to change it.
And the interesting part of asking to change it for me is that if you allow yourself to fully be it without having to do it more, right? You just go, Hey,
hi, we're recording.
If you allow yourself to fully be it, then and see all the ways that you've done it and all the ways that you've been it. If you go for an entire week, I'm just gonna let myself be aware of everywhere that I've ever done this or been this. Then if you choose to at the end of that week actually then make the list, like, okay, cool, hey, I really recognize that I've been a cunt to you, and to myself, and I really apologize for that, and
Yeah.
you know,
Cool.
We might have to have another
I
conversation.
think
really
we have.
different.
I was actually just like, maybe we're gonna do a call.
I
It's
think
really
that's cool because there's so much more. Because I
Yeah.
see what you see, and I've done it totally different because this is where I've hidden everything from myself.
Yeah.
So it's been a longer process, and I wasn't like you're like what would it like you're looking at like what would it take for me to be aware of this, and I couldn't. I'd hidden it so well.
Right.
So
Good point.
I think we need more time.
I think we
We
do
need
too.
more time.
So
More
thank
time to talk about
Yeah.
being a cunt.
Well, thank you for joining us on this episode, and maybe we'll just do another one. I don't know how that's going to show up yet. Yeah, we're super grateful that you guys joined us, and thank you guys so much for this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a
Thanks
great
for the
conversation.
invitation.
Yeah. And if you like this, give it a share. And we'll see you later. And here's a shot
Nice
of my boobs.
cleavage.
You're welcome.